Let's start the show.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Triangle Defense podcast, where we bring you weekly basketball content, college basketball, NBA, trade talks, NBA news. We do it all over here. We have a jam-packed episode today, but first, I'm your host, Alex Ortega.
And I'm Jonathan King.
Got it. Yeah, so before we get into the topic of today, which is going to be, we're going to predict all of the awards for this upcoming NBA season. The first topic was inspired by a conversation I had with my roommate the other day. Who is the best high school basketball player you have ever seen live?
Oh, man. Probably not that great of an answer. I saw Jahlil Okafor. He was a monster. He went to Whitney Young in Chicago.
Yeah, no, he was insane. Yeah, for some that might not know, I mean, I'm sure majority of people know that Chicago is, I think, the mecca of basketball, probably. Yeah, no, definitely. And there's two schools that kind of run things. I mean, there's a couple other ones.
Mecca of basketball, really?
Ask Anthony Davis.
You're gonna make a lot of New Yorkers very, very mad, and a few Laker fans too, for some reason.
True.
But you're gonna make a lot of Knicks fans very, very upset with those comments. I'm not sure I agree, but high school they have a good.
Oh yeah, there's two schools over there. Simeon, which might be familiar to a lot of people. I mean, that's where Derrick Rose, Jabari Parker, most recently Talon Horton-Tucker went there, and then Whitney Young has always had produced a lot of NBA guys too as well. I mean, they had Jahlil Okafor way back in the day. Quentin Richardson went there, and a couple other people in between that. So yeah, Chicago has a really, really good high school basketball scene, and definitely, I mean, Jahlil Okafor was a monster that year.
Yeah, went to Duke for a reason.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and it was just kind of comical. He would just beat up on teams.
Oh yeah,
just post game because there's nothing anybody could do with him.
And the guy that I'm going to talk about is actually the guy that beat Jahlil Okafor in the state finals, Jalen Brunson.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Jalen Brunson went to Stevenson. My high school played him. Our high school actually beat them in football.
Yeah.
My
They're
junior
good
year.
football team too.
Yeah, so we beat them my junior. I mean, I didn't play. I'm saying we as in my high school.
Right. Yeah.
We beat them. We beat them my junior year.
Safety Alex Ortega taking out Jalen Brunson. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Beat them my junior year, like in like a really, really close game. I remember being at that game.
Yeah.
And the next year we played them again, and I want to say our team lost by like 60. And that's the year that they won state in football and basketball, and that was Jalen Brunson's senior year, and he was I believe he was a top 10 recruit.
Yeah, I mean,
he was a top 10 recruit in the country. I remember like just after watching him play in high school, I would just watch his highlights and stuff in the like in the library and stuff like that. Like me and my friends would watch them. So I got to watch him in high school, and then I got to watch him. So he played at Villanova, which is in the same conference as where me and John went to college. I got to watch him torture DePaul for 3 seasons as well, too.
Is it really torture if it's like expected? Like it wasn't torture as much as it was like a strict parent beating down on their kids.
Yeah.
It's just like time for the bi-yearly destruction of DePaul where they lose by 50 points and there's like 10 people in the stands and
that Villanova team was loaded though. Like
Yeah.
Jalen Brunson, Dante DiVincenzo, Mikal Bridges. That team was loaded. But I'd say Jalen Brunson is definitely the best high school basketball player, because I was inspired because I was talking to my roommate, and he said in high school he got dunked on by Josh Okogie, which I was like, that's actually pretty interesting. Yeah, he said Okogie was coming down the lane and he jumped with him, and he's
where did Okogie go to high school?
My roommate's from Atlanta. He told me the name.
I was gonna say, I don't think he was from this area.
No, he told me the name of the high school. I don't remember, but
right.
No, he said Okogie dunked on him in high school. I was like, it's pretty interesting to be able to actually be on the court with an NBA talent.
Yeah,
I was like, cannot imagine. But so Jahlil Okafor for you and Jalen Brunson for me, and then their paths ended up crossing at some point then too. But yeah, interesting. If you guys have ever seen any, really good high school basketball players that have gone on to be NBA guys or high level college guys, please let us know. I always find that really interesting. But moving on to the actual topic of the podcast today, me and John are going to predict, or at least try to predict, because I mean it's pretty hard to predict the
Impossible.
future. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're going to try to predict all of the awards going into this 2021-2022 NBA season. So a lot of different opinions floating around on a lot of these. So we're going to give you guys, I mean, our best insight and predictions on this. Starting off, we're going to start off with the Coach of the Year. You know, this is probably the least exciting award that gets the least talk or anything like that. Who are some guys that you have, on your list of potential Coaches of the Year?
Yeah, I have two names and a really, really, really dark horse. Um, the darkest horse of all time is what I wrote in my notes because it would be if I'll get to him later. But first of all, I have Nate McMillan. You know, it's not too sexy of a pick, but I feel like he was definitely getting talked about last year as if he was in consideration. If the Hawks take a leap, the Hawks grab the 1 or 2 seed. I could see Nate McMillan winning it.
I want to say wasn't Nate McMillan in the top three voting last year?
I think it was Tibbs,
Oh, it was
Monty.
Tibbs, Monty, and Quinn Snyder.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so he
Okay.
was he was definitely no, he was definitely for he wasn't in consideration really, but he was. Everyone looked to Atlanta and saw that when they fired Lloyd Pierce and hired or brought Nick McMillan into the head coaching position, it was like night and day.
Yeah.
And he was definitely getting consideration. So this is all based on if the Hawks take a leap, because it's basically you have to be a top 2 seed or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unless you do a
Exactly.
really outstanding job like Tibbs did last year. But
Mm.
I think 1 or 2 seed the Hawks could get Nate McMillan a Coach of the Year award. And then the second guy I had was even more boring. It's Steve Nash. It just seems kind of obvious. The Nets could easily take the 1 seed, coast to it. Steve Nash can just kind of sit back and do whatever. The only thing that would get in his way would be, people thinking that his coaching staff that he has with him would take too much away from his, I don't know, talent as a coach, I guess, and he wouldn't be in consideration. But it seems just like a layup. Nets get the 1 seed, best record in the league. Steve Nash should be in the running.
Because yeah, I was gonna say now on my list then too. My kind of boring pick would have to be Frank Vogel.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
same thing. I mean, he's gonna kind of coast with that roster, and I
yeah.
mean, neither Frank Vogel or Steve Nash are known as real big X's and O's guys and
No,
stuff
not
like that. I
really.
mean, like I very much just think they have very talented rosters that are going to do very well this regular season. So I mean, it's pretty easy to assume that one of those two guys could be Coach of the Year. But not necessarily a dark horse. I've heard a little bit of talk of that. It's Ime Udoka of the Celtics.
That's a
Um,
trendy pick, I think. Adoka, as we know, assistant under Popovich for the Spurs forever,
and
was
did you
always
know he is the first black coach of the
he
Boston
is
Celtics,
first black
according
coach of the
according
Boston
to
Celtics.
Jason Williams?
Yeah, he was hacked, but whoever hacked his Twitter account and tweeted that Ime Adoka is the first black coach of the Celtics, I hope they come clean, and
Right? Because
I
like
hope they come clean and out themselves, because that was just a despicable act of hacktivism.
Right, because like, why would you hack somebody with hundreds of thousands of
Jay
followers,
Williams of all people, like
and you tweet something like that was meant to be like kind of like heartwarming, like it was
yeah,
supposed to be like
yeah,
a good feel like news story. Like it just doesn't make any sense. But that's beside the point here. I could definitely see if the Celtics do take a jump. I mean, they had a lot of weird stuff going on last season, between
yeah,
Kemba not really looking like himself out there, Brad Stevens apparently being burnt out of coaching, all of that. I think the Celtics could have a bounce back year. And if Ime Udoka is the front man of that, I definitely see him being in strong consideration to be coach of the year.
yeah. I think Celtics have always been a funny team. I've never considered them a top team of the league in the conference, top 1, 2 contending teams. With as long as they've had Tatum and Brown, but maybe a change of scenery is good for them. I don't know if Brad Stevens was the best at managing all the talent that they had on that team.
Right.
But Udoka could, if Brown and Tatum are healthy and Williams takes a leap, um, both of them, I guess.
And just
Yeah,
start from right here. Moving on to the next award, we're going to predict the Rookie of the Year. There are three guys I think, well, four guys total. Three guys that are going to be in talks, but then one guy that I think is the winner. So
yeah.
the guys that are going to be in the talks, I'm going to go with Josh Giddey, Jalen Suggs, Jalen Green, and my winner being Cade Cunningham. What do you think about that, John? Because I already know we're going to disagree.
Josh Giddey, that's you think he's going to be that good in his rookie year?
He was pretty solid in summer league.
I think he could be a really interesting player. I don't think it'll be his rookie year. I actually think a lot of people are going to be pretty sour on him as rookie year. I think he's a project, and I think his rookie year there's going to be a lot of early premature bust talk, and then in a few years he'll turn into like a pretty good player.
Yeah, see, I don't know because he looked pretty solid in summer league, and then he's on an OKC team that doesn't have a whole
Yeah,
lot of expectations. And I actually do like his fit next to Shea SGA. So like I don't know, I think he has a solid chance to
I just
do
don't
all
see
right.
him
I think
scoring enough, and I feel like rookie of the year you have to score.
you have to score a lot. Yeah,
Yeah,
no, that's true.
yeah. I just
That's
don't
kind
see
of
it.
that's kind of more of like my outside pick. I mean, Jalen
Right,
Suggs and
right.
Jalen Green are more my like I think are really going to be in contention for it. And then, like I said, I think Cade Cunningham is going to win the award. So,
Yeah.
who's your guy?
Well, I had three guys, including I only had one guy that you mentioned, and I had him as the runner-up. I had Cade Cunningham taking second. Liked him in college. Wasn't as I didn't see number one overall talent. If I'm being completely honest, I think Cade was the most ready NBA player probably. I don't think in 5 years we're going to look back and see that Cade Cunningham is a franchise player worth the number one overall pick. I think he'll be really, really solid. I think his ceiling is like a CJ McCollum, which is pretty good. But I don't know. I just don't see. Again, it's rookies. And I'm not a scout, but that's what
Right.
I saw in college. I didn't think he was that impressive. A guy that really impressed me coming out of high school was Jalen Green, and that's who I have winning it. He's got a lot of opportunity in Houston to be the best scorer on the team for the most part. Really polished in G League. I didn't see much of him in G League after high school, but shot well from three, NBA 3-point line. Um, pure scorer. And I think in Houston, he's going to be able to do a lot of that. I think he's really athletic. I think as the two guard, it'll warrant a lot of consideration for rookie of the year. So I have Jalen Green winning it. What do you think about that?
I can definitely see that. I know I want to say he's the favorite right now. I mean, especially amongst NBA Twitter,
He
he's the
might
one that
be.
I see having the most talks
Yeah.
of winning Rookie of the Year. I definitely think he's going to score more than Cade Cunningham. I mean, he's a better
Yeah.
pure scorer than Cade, but Cade's more versatile, and I think Cade is going to do more for a Pistons team that's going to be better than Houston.
Does that matter though? Like, is helping your team matter for rookie of the year? Like, no one looked at like I don't know, like Anthony Edwards last year and was like, well, he's he's helping out the Timberwolves. Like,
True.
he just
Yeah.
scored a shit ton of points and was
But
pretty
uh,
pretty
but I think
impressive.
but I think it actually definitely kind of helped Ben Simmons campaign as rookie of the
That
year
was
then
a
too. I mean that was
that
also
was
that
a
was a weird campaign just to
that was a
begin with,
dog
but
shit rookie of the year race. No one cared. Like, no one
right.
cared. He didn't win either. Like, you're saying, oh, it helped him. He didn't win. Or no, he won, but
Yeah,
like
he did win, yeah.
yeah, but like his big competition was like Malcolm Brogdon and
It was him
I
and
don't even
Donovan
know.
Mitchell was the race because
Okay.
Brogdon won it the year before
Oh, you're right. You're right.
when
Okay, my bad. Yeah,
Simmons was injured, yeah.
yeah. And
But
Tatum was also Ben Simmons's class with Lonzo and yeah, and
well,
Kuzma.
because Ben Simmons was 2016, but he was injured his rookie season.
You're
So
right.
he
Yeah,
wasn't until the next year. Yeah, but I mean the Sixers got
Ben
the three
Simmons.
seed
Yeah,
that year, and I think that kind of played into Ben getting the slight edge over Donovan Mitchell. So I mean, like you say, it might not completely matter in the grand scheme of
right.
things, but
Well, that was also the year where Tatum was going off his rookie year and helping the Celtics more than any other rookie was helping their teams. I mean, that was the year where
right,
they went to the Eastern Conference Finals, and Tatum was a big part of that. and he was a higher seed than I think the Sixers and the Jazz were. Obviously, Eastern Conference, Western Conference is a little different there, but
Right.
if it mattered that much, then Tatum would have won that year probably.
Tatum's numbers also weren't. I don't think Tatum was crazy impressive his rookie season though either. I mean, he had like that. He dunked on LeBron, and
Yeah,
he
the
definitely did
playoffs
really
it
well
sure
in the
was.
playoffs. But I don't remember too much like him making a lot of noise his rookie season.
He was in definitely in consideration from a
Oh
rookie
yeah,
class that was actually pretty stacked up. Yeah, I got Ben Simmons confused with his when he was drafted because it
yeah,
was
no,
that
because he
really
was drafted in
terrible,
2016. Yeah,
yeah, really terrible rookie of the year race where Malcolm Brogdon was competing against like nobody.
Dario Saric,
yeah,
Dario
yeah,
Saric, and
yeah.
I want to say Embiid was in. Yeah, Embiid was in that race too.
For
But yeah,
rookie of the year,
yeah, because Embiid got drafted in 2014 and he didn't play for 2 seasons.
yeah, yeah. I think you're right.
So yeah, no, it was Embiid, Dario Saric, and then Malcolm Brogdon won that.
It's
Because
gross.
yeah, no,
It's
the
sick.
2016 draft class, like no, a lot of the
That was
top
also the
guys weren't great. It was like Jamal Murray and Jalen
yeah.
Brown, Brandon Ingram, all those guys. I mean, they didn't really break out yet.
That was that underrated run of Sixers rookies that never played. Like Embiid
Yeah,
missed his rookie year. Ben Simmons, Zaire Smith had that weird like poppy
peanut
seed
allergy or
allergy or
something.
whatever it
Yeah, I think.
was. It's just like cursed
Markel
franchise.
Fultz. Yeah, all
Oh
of
yeah,
that. Yeah.
Markel. I totally forgot about Markel Fultz.
Yeah, I don't know what the
Yeah.
deal was for that few like couple. Jahlil Okafor just was just bad. Um,
Rookie year, he was pretty impressive. I thought he was on the shittiest team on the planet. There was
yeah,
no one on that
and then
team,
the game of
and
basketball changed and left him behind.
yeah, they would just force feed him, and he would rack up like 18 a game or something. I want to say his numbers were good, but if you looked at his play, it was like they just feed him the ball because it's so
Right.
bad. All right, let's move on.
Yeah, so
Um,
that's one I definitely think. I mean, unless something, I think one of us are going to be right on that. I mean, I think Cade
I
Cunningham and Jalen Green are the clear like two. I mean, it's pretty much like a kind of like an Anthony Edwards LaMelo thing to where like those were the
yeah,
two
I
guys. I
think
mean, and you're
so.
going to have some other player that's going to be interesting. That was Tyrese Halliburton last year.
Right.
But I mean, I just think it's a two-man race for that award.
Yeah,
But then
which is
moving on
well, I
to
actually have another dark horse
let's hear it.
for rookie of the year. I'm just full of them today. I think if the stars align, and I mean they'd have to align like they would for Jason Kidd winning Coach of the Year. James Bouknight in Charlotte. There's a scenario where James Bouknight stays healthy and impresses enough off the bench where he puts up like pretty good scoring numbers on pretty good efficiency and wows some people and does some stuff. Probably not going to win it just because the opportunity is so limited by Charlotte actually being a competent team.
Right.
But I really like Bouknight's talent, and I just wanted to give him consideration.
I agree. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
also a dark horse pick. And if that does come true, Triangle Defense
Again, yeah,
Podcast, you heard it here first.
yeah,
And
you heard it here.
now moving on to the next award. It's the Defensive Player of the Year. Same thing. For all of these awards, I'm going to name off a few people before I name my actual winner of it. So the guys that I have in consideration are Draymond Green. I can see a scenario where Golden State goes back to being Golden State, and Draymond
Hmm.
just does Draymond things and is
Yeah,
a solid defender again. I mean, he was in top three consideration last season too. So I mean, if Golden State's a better team this year, he's definitely going to be up there as well. Another one is Bam Adebayo. Um,
yeah,
I mean, we know what Bam does. I mean, Bam definitely has to be in consideration for this.
yeah,
One of the best
definitely.
defensive big men in the NBA. And next, moving on to a guy that's gotten a lot of negative press lately. It's Jonathan Isaac.
Oh,
Don't let
not
all the weird MAGA anti-vax stuff let you forget that Jonathan Isaac is a really really good perimeter defender.
Isaac's a MAGA anti-vaxxer guy.
You didn't know that?
No,
You haven't seen
I
all the
knew he
stuff?
was deeply religious. Did not know he was that anti-vaxxer
Oh,
guy.
just go to Twitter and just look up Jonathan
Is
Isaac
this
and just
recent?
yes, this was like yesterday, today.
I've been locked in on Wiggins. If Wiggins gets the shot, then it's like the NBA should throw parades and stuff like that. 'Cause
Right.
he tried to
No,
go
you
all the way into getting religious exemption from getting the shot. He's
you can put Jonathan Isaac in that same conversation with Wiggins though. Honestly, if
yeah.
you just
Who's number one most likely to get COVID this season?
yeah,
Who's your
right.
number one guy? Wiggins.
Wiggins, Kyrie, Jonathan
Yeah,
Isaac, all those guys. But yeah, like I said, don't let that distract you from the fact that Isaac is a really, really good perimeter defender. I mean, he had
yeah.
the injury. He was out with injury last
That's the
season,
thing.
but
His injuries are his biggest hangups, and he's on the Magic, so no one watches
yeah,
their games.
yeah,
That's
exactly.
why I
But
left Jalen Suggs out of my rookie of the year because he's a great player. I love Jalen Suggs. He was one of the most exciting college guys ever. And I think the Raptors were insane not to take him, but he plays for the Magic, so
yeah, that's true. But moving on to the guy that I actually think is going to win the award. And speaking of negative press, another guy that has cannot stay out of the news lately. I think it'll be Ben Simmons. There's a lot of uncertainty about this upcoming season with him, where he's going to
yeah,
be and all that stuff. But the one thing that is certain is he's the best perimeter defender in the NBA. He can guard positions 1 through 5. This is a guy that I watched last year. He went from guarding Pascal Siakam one night to the next day clamping up Damian Lillard. I don't know many other guys in the NBA that can do that at the level that he does.
yeah. I just think he's going to be disqualified. I might go into Bill Simmons territory here, but I just think him being this big of a distraction for the Sixers, and he might not even play for the Sixers or anyone for half the season. I don't know how you could vote for a guy defensive player of the year if he plays either half a season. Um, I guess he'd have to get traded before the season would start, right?
Right,
To
because
be
he
considered.
said he's not playing
Yeah.
for
So
Philly. Yeah, so this is me assuming he gets moved sometime in the next like few weeks, and he's
really,
on
okay.
a
I
new
think that's
team.
a. I think that's a. I don't know. I don't know how bold of an assumption that is. To be honest, the trade market for Ben Simmons feels cold right now. It
Yeah,
feels like there's a disconnect between what Morey wants and what other teams are asking to give up. And I just think that he stays for the season. But yeah, I mean, if he goes to the Timberwolves, something like that, the
or I think
Kings, I
if
don't.
he goes to like Portland and really is like the
Yeah,
defensive anchor on a team that
yeah,
ends up being pretty good with him, I definitely see him winning this award. Because like I said, like regardless of all of the drama and all this stuff going on. I mean, he's the best perimeter defender in the NBA, and there's not many guys like him that can guard the 1 through the 5 like comfortably the way that he does.
yeah. The other guy would be, I think, probably Draymond Green, although he's lost a step. Probably can't guard guards as well as he could have. But
No,
yeah, but you're right.
is that
I
who
think
you're
that
gonna run with, Draymond? Then?
no, I actually didn't have him in my top three. I
Oh, really?
didn't have any of those guys in my top three.
Really?
Funny
Who do you
enough,
have?
yeah, just because I didn't put Simmons in there because I really have no idea what he's going to do. If he gets traded or not, I just think I don't know. People are going to be sour on him. The media has some vendetta against him, maybe rightfully so. But I had some pretty boring picks, I guess. I like Anthony Davis this year. I think if the Lakers get the 1 seed and Anthony Davis plays, which might be a leap, but Anthony Davis is super talented, and if I could definitely see a scenario where the Lakers, those smart veterans that they have, slow down the game a little bit, make it Davis's defensive numbers look pretty good, make the Lakers' defensive numbers look pretty good, and I just think he might be due for one. Another guy I had was Rudy Gobert, just because I feel like he has to be in every list. You know, regular
Does
season,
does
he's so
does voter
impactful.
fatigue for like non MVP awards
Definitely,
exist as well too?
definitely,
Okay, yeah.
yeah.
Because
Um,
Rudy's on this. If he won it this upcoming season, that would be his fourth one.
Yeah, and yeah, I think definitely voter fatigue plays a factor, but that's why I didn't have him winning it. Really,
Right. Yeah.
the same thing happened with Kawhi back when he was winning Defensive Player of the Year awards.
Right. And the other thing too is Rudy kind of got exposed in the playoffs. I mean, he got played
Well,
off the floor,
he
and
did
the
2 years ago
discussion.
as well.
Right,
Yeah,
and the discussion ended up being, oh, this is the defensive player of the year. It
right.
should have been Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons wouldn't have gotten played off. I mean, he wouldn't have gotten played off the floor for his defensive
Yeah,
reasons. It would have been offense, but
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And then third, I just have this is a dark horse. Miles Turner.
Okay,
There's
yeah.
there's a
No,
scenario where he'd have to take a leap and play more games. Obviously, he had the great block totals, but he's going to have to be a more well-rounded defender probably to win it. And the Pacers are going to have a pretty good record if he wants to win it too. but there's definitely a scenario where he could. You know,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not confident that's going to happen at all, but
right.
it could happen. You know, so pretty boring. I think Defensive Player of the Year is the most boring award this year. I don't know.
Yeah, and then the thing, my problem with, I mean, with the Miles Turner one thing too, like you said, I mean, he would have to, the Pacers would have to be decent,
Yeah, they'd have
and
to be pretty
I
good.
don't know how much I count on that,
Yeah,
especially with the Carols Levert news coming out today too.
right. Yeah,
Yeah,
kind of scary for him
there,
considering he
I
has
know,
never
and he's
caught
a
a
player I
break
like. I
ever.
do like
Yeah,
him, and so it's sad news, but and then with Anthony Davis too, my concern is the Laker tax. I think Lakers players, like the media, is biased when it comes to giving them awards. To where Anthony Davis could have won it, could have won the Defensive Player of the year that they won the championship,
yeah,
and that went to Giannis.
right.
And
So
same
you
thing
you
too,
think it
like
plays? You think the media hates the Lakers
when
when
it
it comes to
comes to
voting
giving
for
awards,
awards?
because I feel like it's looked at as like the obvious thing.
Do you think it's the Lakers, or do you think it's LeBron teammate fatigue?
It could be LeBron teammate fatigue.
Yeah,
It very much
because
could
I
be
think
LeBron
a
teammate
lot of it
fatigue.
is you look at Davis or whatever, and you think like, huh, well, what did he do without LeBron? And Davis a
Right,
whole lot, but as a team, not so much, and he couldn't lead guys, and his defensive numbers look a lot better in the Lakers than they did on the Pelicans, just because he has more help, I guess. And I think
right,
people look at LeBron's teammates and sort of think like, oh, you know, nothing without LeBron, or he's the engine that carries them, which
exactly.
yeah. So I think it
Yeah,
might be more of that.
yeah, that's possible. That's
Yeah,
very possible. But yeah, no, defensive player of the year. This is probably one of the tougher ones to predict.
definitely.
Like I said, I mean, like my the guy that I think is going to win it might not even play this season. If he decides to hold out. So
Yeah.
this could be one that we end up
Oh,
being very wrong. But moving on to the next award, it's a six man of the year. This is a award that I kind of have a little bit of a problem with because I think it very much just ends up being
the
who
biggest
scored the most
chucker.
who scored the
Yeah.
most points off the bench, not who really contributed to their team's success. It was just, just kind of who scored the most points.
Yeah,
So the guys that I
definitely.
have in consideration, the three guys are Joe Ingles. Uh, I mean, some people argue that he could have won it last year.
Yep.
Uh, Another one too is Derrick Rose.
Okay. Yeah.
He had a great season last season.
Yeah.
If he keeps that up and the Knicks are halfway decent, he's definitely going to be in talks for that. Another one is Kevin Herter.
Yeah.
Going back to if the Hawks are good, and and if Kevin Herter plays the way that he did in the playoffs, and he really showed us his upside and his
You,
scoring ability.
you think Herter's going to stay on the bench?
Yes,
Who starts over him at the 2 and 3
DeAndre
this
Hunter.
season?
So I would go Trey, Bogdanovich, DeAndre Hunter,
Okay.
John Collins, Clint Capella.
I think Herter's better than Bogdanovich in that starting lineup, but
You think so?
yeah, I do. And in the playoffs, I think he really showed out. Herter did.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah,
I just think he's less ball dominant than Bogdanovich is, and next to Trey Young, he's better. You know, he can spot up and do all that Kevin Herter
true,
shit.
true.
Yeah, I think you're right. If he comes off the bench, yeah, that's a good pick. I like that because I
Yeah.
think Herter's due for a lead.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. So,
Yeah,
but the guy that I have winning it, I'm gonna go with the safe bet, and I think this does happen a lot. It's Jordan Clarkson.
yeah,
He averaged
yeah,
18 points per game off the bench on 48% shooting, and if he averages between 18 and 20 and has good shooting splits, and the Jazz are good, which I expect them to be, I don't see a reason that he's not going to win this. I think the six man of the year, it's one of those awards when you win it once, you're going to be in consideration for it for a long time,
the
and
Jamal
that's why
Crawford theory.
Jamal Crawford. That's why we've seen Jamal Crawford win it three times. That's why we've seen Lou Will win it
Lou
three
Will,
times.
yeah,
So I very much think
that's the profile. Undersized
Clarkson's
guards that can handle the ball and chuck.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's the reason I only had two names. Clarkson, I had winning it, but I didn't have any of those other guys you mentioned just because I went with another guy who I think is kind of a fun pick is Tyrese Halliburton.
Interesting.
I think he's definitely still going to come off the bench. I don't think he's going to definitely not beat out De'Aaron Fox, and I don't think he's going to play much next to him at the two.
But then at the two, I think there's a possibility he could start because I mean, are we still expecting Buddy Hield to be on the team or
No, probably not.
because I mean,
I just
going
don't.
back to like you said about the Kevin Herter thing, I mean, like he might start too. I think there's a world that Tyrese Halliburton starts then if Buddy Hield ends up getting traded.
Right, right. I think, yeah, it depends on what they do. I could see a world where Davian Mitchell starts. Probably not right off the bat, but there's been 6 man of the years that have started to start the season or middle of the season
Hmm.
and spend most of their time coming off the bench.
Right.
I think he could be a good pick just because he takes another leap or a leap, I guess. He came out rookie year, really sort of probably defied expectations
He was
from
my
what people
favorite.
expect him.
I tried to tell everybody he was, and you know this for a long time. He was my
Yeah,
favorite prospect because I watched him play at Iowa State,
yeah,
and I loved the way that he passed. Weird shot mechanics, but it went
yeah,
in.
definitely.
And yeah, no, I liked Halliburton from the minute I saw him play. And he's from Wisconsin, so
Oh, I didn't know that.
yeah, he's from Milwaukee.
Oh,
But
cool.
yeah, no, so he's a guy I liked from the beginning. I would love to see him take another leap. And
Yeah,
like you said, I think he would be in talks then too. But it just depends on is Buddy Hield going to be around? Are they going to want to start Davion Mitchell
right.
or anything like that? There's a couple of question marks around that, but I do think Tyrese Halliburton is going to take a leap from year one to year two.
Yeah, but I think ultimately it's Jordan Clarkson's race to lose. There's no
Yeah,
reason why he wouldn't do the same thing he did last year, unless something gets in his head and he takes a major hit in efficiency. He comes off
exactly.
the bench and his sole job is to carry the Jazz's offense while all those guys are off the floor. He has a really,
Right.
really great job in the NBA. He never has to pass, only has to shoot on a good
Yeah.
team. Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah. So like I said, between him, like you said, scoring 18 to 20 and being on a good team, I mean that's the recipe to win six man of the year.
yep,
And I mean I don't see Jordan Clarkson losing that. And so moving on to the next award, this is one of the hardest but most fun ones to predict, and it's the most
definitely.
improved player.
Yeah,
And I have a few different names here.
I have
Um,
three, and I wonder if we'll have even the same names for any of them. I think we'll have one,
We
but
probably will,
I
but I don't
wonder.
think you're definitely not going to have the same one I have winning it. So
Okay.
the three runner-ups that I have right here are Darius Garland. Um, I think
Oh.
there's a possibility he takes a big leap from year two to year three.
Yep.
Um, there's a potential maybe Colin Sexton gets moved, and
Yeah.
maybe they bring in somebody that kind of complements Darius Garland maybe a little better
Yeah.
and just doesn't over dribble and doesn't have bad shot selection the way that Colin
Doesn't piss off
Sexton
his
does.
teammates like
Yeah,
Colin Sexton apparently does.
yeah, exactly. So I think there's a world that Darius Garland could take a leap from year two to year three, and if
Remember
we
when
have,
John Beeline was coaching the Cavs?
yes,
Remember that?
is he the one that told them to stop moving walking around like
Thugs.
thugs or something?
Yeah, yeah. He was there like I want to say like 5 games or something, 8 games
And he
or
said he
something
was
like
like,
that.
"Oh, he's like I meant to say slugs,"
Yeah,
and I was like, "Sir."
yeah. I don't know. It's really funny. He had a really successful career at Michigan, and everyone loved him. And then he signed a 4-year deal with the Cavs, played 10 games or coached 10 games, and then got fired, and now does like Big Ten Network shit.
Yeah, they wanted that guy out of there bad, but
Yeah,
yeah, it didn't seem like a good guy altogether. And another one then too. This could be interesting, but I think the contract he just signed could maybe mess with that. It's Michael Porter Jr.
I have him.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah, no,
I
it's
have
Michael
him
Porter
winning it
Jr.
actually.
Interesting. Okay,
I do.
yeah,
Yeah,
I feel like if he doesn't, because now he has to play like a max guy
yeah,
because he's a max guy.
yeah.
So I think
No,
it
no Murray this year for most of the year.
right.
He'll definitely be that second scorer in that offense, and in an offense where there's really not a dominant third scorer, I would
Right.
say is
Uh,
important.
the only thing that I see happening is I think the pressure now of him being a max guy could potentially hurt that because they could take Michael Porter's productions, they could look at his minutes, they could look at his shooting splits, and say, well, look at what the other max guys are doing. Even some of the guys coming out of his class, like Luka and Trey Young, you could look at what they're doing and say, well, he's not performing
Right.
to that level, and I think that contract could end up hurting that discussion. But yeah, no, I 100% think Michael Porter Jr. will be in the discussion
Yeah,
for it.
he's supposed to keep getting better.
Oh
Logically,
yeah,
you would think he's not really at his peak yet. Really exciting player, dynamic, tall wing that can shoot, handle the ball, do all that stuff. We could talk about his contract a lot because it goes into the whole thing. Whether it messes with his production or mindset or whatever, I'm not sure. But I think it's a move that Denver had to make.
oh yeah,
Yeah, and I think I don't know. Maybe it goes the other way. And now that Porter Jr. knows he's going to be at the Nuggets for 5 years, probably unless he requests a trade. Uh, you know, I think it instills confidence that the franchise is behind him. Mike Malone's got to be behind him. And if he wasn't feeling that already, he is now with 5-year max deal. And maybe he just goes balls out and just says fuck it. This might as well be my team. I know Jokic is on the team, but we might as well share it. Score
right.
a bunch of points while Murray's injured. Yeah, I could see a thing where he just goes nuts. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's definitely a possibility, and I want to see him do really well too. I mean, I like him. I liked him a lot out of high school. I want
Oh yeah.
this guy was the number one overall pick before he had his back
Yeah.
injury and slipped to
And foot
whatever
drop or
14 or
whatever
15.
the
Yeah,
fuck that was.
yeah,
I don't know what
exactly.
foot drop is, but
Beats me.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, no, I could see that, and that's why I had to add him on to this list. Another guy I had on my list right here then too is it's Terrence Mann.
Oh, okay.
I
Wow.
think, yeah, yeah.
Wow.
I actually like Terrence Mann for this award then too because no Kawhi almost the entire season, and we saw
Yeah,
what he
that's
could
a
do in
good
the playoffs. I
thought.
think he had what a 40-point game in the
It
playoffs.
was, I want to say 37.
Yeah,
Correct
something
me if
like
I'm wrong. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, basically a
Yeah.
40-point game. So he kind of showed us his scoring ability right there too, and I think with a bigger
Yeah.
role, playing more minutes, maybe sliding into the starting lineup with Kawhi being out the entire season. I think there's a potential that he takes a jump. Uh,
That's uh thinking outside the box, I'd say.
oh, definitely. Oh, wait till you hear my winner.
Oh, Jesus.
My winner for the most improved player,
Better than Terrence Mann?
OG Anunoby.
Oh, Jesus. Uh, yeah, we haven't heard enough about that from Raptors fans for the past 5 years since he got
Hear,
drafted or whatever.
hear me out. Hear me
Oh,
out.
God.
He's going to
Yeah,
take a bigger role in Toronto now that he's
have to. Yeah.
arguably the second best player on the team behind whoever you look at, either Siakam or Fred VanVleet.
Yeah, you got it. I'd say third behind both those guys, but
I think
yeah.
there's a debate with him and Fred. I
Yeah,
mean,
I
just
think
with
Siakam's
what
better.
OG does. Oh yeah, yeah, no,
Yeah.
definitely. So I mean, he averaged 18 points per game last year on 48% shooting, and he's a great defender. He's a great perimeter
Yeah.
defender, and so if he stays healthy and takes another offensive leap, maybe into the 22 to 25 point per game area,
Which I think is a huge leap
it is,
for the
but
Raptors.
we've seen big leaps like that before for most improved players, and I definitely think there's a possibility. Like I said, I mean, by the end of the season, he could be looked at as the second best or the best player on that Raptors team, and a team that is hungry to try to get back to. I mean, it's wild how hard they fell off from that 20. I mean, obviously losing Kawhi played a
And
big
we'll
factor.
be playing in fucking Tampa Bay where the opposing teams would come in and send their fans and then boo the Raptors when they'd come out on their home games.
They're back in Toronto now, though.
Yeah.
They're back in Toronto. So this is a
Yes,
team
they
that is
are.
hungry to get back. You know, you have a great coach like Nick Nurse. You have the
Yep.
talent of Siakam, Fred VanVleet, you know, guys like that. And I think there's a possibility that OG does take a leap like that and ends up being looked at as the best player on that Raptors team, a team that is hungry to try to get back to the playoffs. So I think it's OG Anunoby's award to win. We'll see.
Yeah, I disagree. I think Ananobi, I don't know. I think offensively, we've seen what he can do, and I don't think he has it in him to take a big scoring leap like that. I think he's best as a second or third or fourth option.
A lot of it
You
though
know,
was injuries too. I mean, he played I think less than 40 games last season.
well, and that's another thing. I think he's been in and out of being injury prone his whole career. I don't
Right.
see that not continuing. I just think I don't think he's the kind of player that would lead a team in scoring or go out and be the first option. I just don't see it. I think he's a great player defensively, mainly because he's a two-way player. I just don't see him being the guy where he's hits the tough shots and scores a bunch from three or something like that. I think to take a leap like that, you have to really be a great outside shooter, and I think
Right.
he's pretty good. I don't think he's going to be on a level of like the guys that score 22 to 25 points a game. You know,
Right. And and
um,
and that's what's fun about this award is it's really hard to predict who's just going to
right?
get better. I mean, like
Impossible. I mean,
right,
really
because
impossible.
it's who is go. Because do you think a lot of people had Julius Randle winning it last year?
No, and if you did, you're insane because
Yeah,
he was.
right. Yeah,
Yeah,
no, like there's always a few guys that I mean, I think the discussion going into last season, I want to say it was Christian Wood and Jeremy Grant, and Randall ended up outplaying the both of those
right.
guys. So I think right now we're going to have the discussion of Michael Porter Jr. or Darius Garland or something like that. And I really think it could be a potential to be a really major dark
Yeah,
horse like OG, and that's kind of why I wanted to put that pick out because, like I said, this is one of the hardest ones to pick because you don't know who is there's obviously factors you're going to look at, like I said, with Terrence Mann, with Kawhi being out, and
Dennis
other guys
Schroeder.
getting Dennis Schroeder, other guys getting more opportunity or like that, so we'll
Yeah,
definitely see, but I think we have the potential to be very wrong
yeah.
on this one.
I just don't want to see. I just don't want to hear Raptors fans make OG1 and Anobi Kenobi jokes anymore.
God, yeah, no, I
I just
agree.
don't want it. Real quick, I had two other guys that you didn't mention. I had John Collins. I just think he's getting better. He signed a big deal, didn't he?
Yeah, yeah, he
Yeah,
did, and yeah, and I mean, no, he's legit too. If he
yeah. He's got
continues
a
to
good
improve
playmaker.
as a shooter, and I mean,
Yeah,
he's a great lob threat next to Trey.
yeah.
I like John Collins. I've liked John Collins for a while.
And then I had Zion, a little bit more of a dark horse, but he's been injured. Uh, he could take a leap in scoring. I think if he gets an outside shot, if he improves a little bit defensively, starts grabbing some more boards with that big frame he has, and the Pelicans really start doing something, he could be the guy. You
Zion's a
know?
weird case because he went from being one of the most hyped prospects I've ever seen in my life to
Yeah.
kind of turning into being an underrated prospect last year. Not prospect because he was already in the NBA, but being an
Right.
underrated player last year. I think the talks really cooled down on him, and he had a great season. I think he's
Yeah.
was like a top three power forward throughout that entire season. But yeah, I mean, we'll see what the
He plays for
talks
the
are.
Pelicans.
Yeah,
That's
yeah. I mean,
yeah.
we'll
Nobody watches Pelicans games, even though they try to jam it down our throats on
yeah.
prime time, and he would never play him because he was always hurt.
Right.
But
Yeah, I mean,
that's
there's a possibility on that, but like I said, I think with just what the discussion of Zion is now, I think everyone's kind of over the Zion hype. I think he could have a great season like he did last
yeah.
year and still not get nods for the most improved award.
Yeah, I think he'd have to improve, and like I said, he'd have to improve. If he had a better, more consistent outside shot, it would really impress people because
Right.
he's one of the most efficient scorers of all time at the rim. Um, if he had that threat where he could score from multiple angles, that would be really dangerous. And if he grabbed more boards, I think people would be impressed. For a guy his size and how thick he is, his potential is like he coming out of the draft, he got a lot of Charles Barkley comparisons.
I
He should
heard
be
Charles
boxing guys
Barkley,
out.
I heard Larry Johnson, just
Yeah,
guys like that. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
he should be
definitely.
boxing guys out and bullying guys, even at a height disadvantage. And I just haven't seen that yet for
Right.
how big he is, and how I think he could use his body a little better if he did that. I think he'd really appease a lot of guys, including old heads would
Right.
really love him if he
Yeah.
started banging down the paint like he was Charles Oakley or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Zion could be an interesting one, and like I said, one that a lot of people just aren't talking about right now. But moving on to the final award, it's the MVP.
Mm-hmm.
Another one that there's so many different narratives and everything that goes into what makes an MVP. I mean, is it the most valuable player on the team, or is it an award that just goes to the best player on the best team.
The
You
latter.
know, yeah,
I mean, that's historically what it's been,
exactly.
which I think I disagree with, but
Oh,
you
100%.
know,
But
yeah,
yeah, but I mean that's just the nature of the award and how that always ends up working. So you always have to try to take team success into consideration.
always, yeah.
So
I'd say that's stupidly the most important aspect. Really, that's what I thought of when making this
right.
list. Whose team is going to be really good and better than the other ones, and then I thought about stats and stuff like that.
So here's what I think going into it. So and then I'm gonna include my picks right here then too. So I think it's a new era, and I think it's going to be a guy that we haven't seen win it before. I think the days of LeBron winning it are done. I think Curry can have a great season, and the Warriors can be great, and I don't think he'll win the award either. So I think it's done for guys like that. Personally,
Done out
there's
here.
there's been a ton of seasons where LeBron should have won it and he didn't. So I can't imagine the Lakers being good and this being the year that they say, you know what, let's give the MVP to LeBron. Now that he's taken a bit of a dip in his performance and all of that, I don't see it going to a guy like him or a guy like Curry. So, do you have thoughts on that?
No, not really. I think that's already happening for the
Yeah,
most part.
yeah, exactly. And I think this will be just kind of the cementing that. So the guys that I have in consideration to win it, the first one being one that I don't think is going to happen, and it's not because of him, it's because of the team around him. It's Luca. Luca
Yeah,
was the
he's the
favorite.
favorite.
Yeah, he was the favorite going
Yeah,
into last season too, and I don't like the moves that the Mavs made this summer.
no, I don't either.
What's his name? I don't even remember who they picked up.
Oh, the guard.
It's on the tip of my tongue.
I mean, did they really even change the roster around that
No,
much?
no, they
Yeah,
really
they
didn't.
they, they kept Tim Hardaway, Maxi Kleba, all these guys. Um, Josh Green is an okay player, you know.
Yeah, and then not to mention the Jason Kidd hiring too.
Yeah, they
Not a fan of
signed
that.
Frank Tilikina. Yeah,
Oh,
like,
yeah, yeah. They have
yeah,
Frank Ntilikina, and I want to say they picked somebody else up too.
Trey Burke.
Yeah, Trey Burke. Uh, I might be missing someone else, but it's obviously nobody of real nobody that's gonna turn the Mavs into. You
A
kind of have
different
to.
team. Yeah, they've been
No,
kind of frustrating ever since Doncic was a rookie. The team has been pretty much the same. They have Mavericks guys, which will probably change now that Donnie Nelson's on the outs with Mark Cuban
right?
and the Mavs. Dorian Finney-Smith has been around for forever for no reason. Maxi Kleba, Boban Marjanovic, Jalen Brunson is pretty good. But all these guys where it's like, well, what the fuck are we doing? Like, why do we have
Right.
these
Yeah.
guys around? Why do
That
we have
that's the
these guys
thing
on
is,
Doncic?
I think they make the playoffs, but I don't think because the only exception of the last few years that we've seen not be like a top two, top three seed was Russell Westbrook, who had a historic season like that.
Yeah,
And I don't think Luca's numbers can get much better than they were last season.
I agree. I think and it's not obviously not a slight on him. Like his
Right.
numbers were insane last year, and I really like what more could he have done? He would
Right.
carry
Yeah.
the team, scored a shit ton of points, assisted on a bunch of stuff. He'd have those crazy games where he'd score like 30 and have like 15 assists or whatever. Like
Exactly.
really, you're right. I don't think it's like you can't improve his numbers. The team has to get better.
Right.
Which is
And
now that I'm thinking, like I had Doncic winning it as well. I just think it's the most obvious answer, but the team cannot stay the same as they were last year. They have to be better for him to win it, realistically, right?
and that's I
I don't
don't
think
see that
that's I
happening.
don't think that's
Yeah.
going to happen either. I just
So
don't see it. I mean, especially with the absence of Rick Carlisle. I think
right.
Carlisle. I think this team was always a team of overachievers. I don't think Dorian Finney-Smith or Willie Cauley-Stein or
So
uh,
it's a lot of guys that nobody wanted.
Yeah, I don't
like
think.
Trey Burke
Yeah,
and
Tim Hardaway
people
even
like
the Knicks didn't want
yeah,
Tim Hardaway in that weird ass trade. That was sort
right.
of an afterthought in the Porzingis trade, but he's like arguably their second best player.
Yeah.
Probably is, depending on who you ask, because Kristaps has really soured some people. I'm sure he's soured some Mavericks fans.
Yeah, no,
But
not I'm not very high on Tingus Pingus going into this season. So that's why I mean
one
I
of the
have
best
Luca on my
nicknames of all time.
right. I have Luca on my list because he's going in. He goes into every season since over the last two seasons as the favorite, but I just don't see the Mavericks being competent and winning
Yeah.
enough games for him to be in true consideration for the award. So moving on to
What
another guy. Oh, go
I
ahead.
could add one more thing.
Yep.
The Lucas case is that voter fatigue will play a part, as you mentioned, sort of in the lead into the MVP talks. Not only is a guy like LeBron or Curry, people aren't going to vote for him just because their situations aren't the greatest. And LeBron's due to regress, even though we've been saying that for forever. A
Right.
guy like Giannis, is Giannis going to win it again? Are they going to give him another MVP? It's like
No.
I, I'd be, if I'm a voter, I don't want to vote for Giannis again. Just inherently, just it's boring.
Because that's the thing is generally you don't win multiple MVPs unless they're back to back.
Yeah,
You don't go unless you're Jordan from 87 to 91. You generally don't win multiple MVPs unless it's back to back. So that's why the other guy that I have on this list is Nikola Jokic. I think if he has another historic season the way that he did last year, and the Nuggets are very good. I mean, if he carries that team without Jamal Murray to being a top three seed, I think Jokic has to be in the conversation for that. One thing that I think could hurt his campaign would be that he's already the most forgotten MVP
yeah.
in like NBA history. Like
Which
nobody's
again, I
really
think is insane because what he could do last year was everything as a big man. He could dribble, he could pass, he could shoot from outside. He could really do everything. There were nights, just like watching Jokic get the ball in the post, and it doesn't matter who's guarding him. You can play perfect defense on him, and he'll do his weird little uh, one Jack Sigma little step back fadeaway, and it'll be
right.
nothing but net, and he'll do it 5 possessions in a row and just make you crazy. Like I don't know, his assist numbers were insane. He doesn't really turn the ball over that much, but again, yeah, nothing happened with it in the playoffs. The Nuggets were really underwhelming.
Right.
Really not that memorable because there were no historical implications. Really, he just had a really
No,
awesome
and
individual season.
that's the thing is I think that with that already being a forgotten MVP, I think voters are gonna maybe keep that in consideration, and they know the Nuggets aren't gonna make real noise in the playoffs. Then too, I mean, the Lakers aren't scared of them. I would take a healthy Clippers team over them. I think this time around. Um,
Healthy, yeah,
yeah, no, healthy. Yeah, I think the Suns would probably beat them too. So I think
yeah,
people are gonna think about that, and that could hurt his campaign. And the other guy too, getting into a couple of the dark horses. The guy that I have winning MVP is actually a major dark horse, but another guy that I think, just going back to what we were saying about how this guy could be the coach of the year, and another one of his teammates could be six man of the year because we think they're going to
Jason
be
Kidd.
good. No, it's Trey Young.
Yeah, I had him as a dark horse as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think there's a world that if the Hawks end up being a really good team and Trey does Trey things, is the
yeah,
best player on that team. Because I like the coach on that team. I like a lot of the guys on that team too. And what a
yeah. I
lot
do
of
too.
people aren't talking about then too, they're actually in position to make a big trade for another star because this is a team that their rebuild got kind of moved fast. I mean, they
Definitely.
turned into. We have a lot of young guys that are solid right now and are going to be good in a few years, but I think
Yeah,
this season showed them that we can be good right now. We
they
can
are good.
we
Yeah,
don't yeah, they are good right now. We don't have to wait a few more years and they have a lot of pieces then too to turn into a potential Bradley Beal trade or a trade for a guy like that. They could move Danilo Gallinari and
Cam
DeAndre
Reddish.
Hunter, Cam Reddish, guys like that. And I think that's actually a pretty solid package for a guy like Bradley Beal. So
Yeah,
this is a team that no, people aren't talking about being in talks to, make a big move like that. I mean, they could run it back with the same team and I think be a very good team, or they can move a couple of those pieces around, like Bogdan Bogdanovic, Gallinari, DeAndre Hunter, Cam Reddish, Kevin Herter, all of those guys.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought. Do I think that they're going to make a big splashy trade? No, just because I don't think Travis Schlenk is the type of guy to do that. He's drafted pretty well.
Yeah.
I wasn't a big fan of Hunter or Reddish coming out of college, but they've proven me wrong. Especially defensively, they're both pretty solid.
Yeah, Cam
And
Reddish was actually a guy that I thought about for that most improved award then too.
yeah, I mean, defensively, if you're looking at championships, you need defense. You need to get scrappy wing guys that can lock down a couple possessions, and that's what they have. I think the Hawks have a better chance than the Mavericks to become better. Especially, it looks better when you're the 1 seed in the East. Even if you have a worse record than the 2 or 3 seed in the West, it just looks better.
Right.
And I think that the Hawks have a better chance to improve because really, it's Trae Young is linked to Luka Doncic in so many ways, but that way especially, Trae Young put up monster numbers last year. Really,
Right.
I don't see him improving that much either. If he does that again, maybe a little more efficient, maybe a little bit better on defense, and the Hawks just play better as a team. Yeah, it could
Because
be
they
right
were
up there.
the 5 seed last year?
The 4 seed, weren't they?
Knicks were the 4 seed.
Knicks were the 4 seed. Okay, then
Yeah,
yeah, they
because
were the 5 seed.
because I just remember because Knicks had home court in that
Right.
series. But yeah, I mean, just win 5 to 10 more games, and you've jumped into the 2
Yeah,
or 3 seed. And
yeah,
I think Trae Young doing just scoring the ball the way that he does. I mean, people might not care that he's a complete liability on defense, but
right.
yeah, I think Trae Young is one of my dark horses. But it's going to be the same thing too, where it's going to depend on the rest of his team. Uh, really taking another leap. And, Nate McMillan as a coach and all the guys around him, DeAndre Hunter needs to be healthy. John Collins taking another leap, Clint Capella, all those guys. I think that's what it's going to depend on.
Yeah, I think that's a good pick though.
Yeah, no, for sure. And now my actual pick for the MVP. Uh, so this is
What
another
is
guy
this?
too that you know like last season was very weird for these guys. He had a great season, but it was just overshadowed by a lot of stuff going on in the city. That there's been a coaching change, a couple guys getting moved, all of that. My pick for the 2022 MVP, it's Jayson Tatum.
Whoa. What do you
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
What?
okay, okay. Hear me out. Hear me out. All right.
This is
So,
already a historic moment in the TTD podcast. How wrong is Alex?
so
Very.
Ime Udoka, like I
Yep.
said,
Love
is
him.
I think there's a potential that he becomes coach of the year. In order to become coach of the year, your team has to be very good, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So Tatum has shown improvement every season. He still can take another leap as a scorer, and he can still take a slight leap as well as a defender. Improve his three
Yeah.
point shooting, and he becomes one of the best. He's already looked at as a top 15 guy in the NBA.
Yep.
And I think another small leap into what is he going into his 4th season? I think that makes him a top 10 guy. So that's another recipe for an MVP. I think the Celtics are going to be a good team because of a couple different things. One of those being, like I said, the coaching change, and Brad Stevens was a little burnt out. And I think it was just good to have a different voice out there. They have made a couple of different moves. They got off of the Kemba contract. They got Kemba out of there. The chemistry just wasn't working. They got Al Horford back, who, to unpopular belief, still has a lot in the tank. He's a solid defender. He's a great locker room guy too.
I
Like,
think he was playing dead on the Thunder. Yeah, I think he's one of those guys where he's on a shit team and doesn't play, and then he comes
right.
back to a good team, and people are like, "Huh, how'd they get him?"
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. So I think Horford can contribute a lot to this team still too. Marcus Smart's going to go out there and be the lockdown guy that he is. And another guy too that I think is going to play well this season is Dennis Schroeder. Is there anybody in the NBA that needs to prove himself more than this guy?
Maybe Ben Simmons.
Maybe, yeah, maybe.
I
But
don't know.
I mean, at least Ben Simmons is getting paid this season.
Yeah. Well,
Dennis Schroeder
most of it. Yeah.
70 something million.
Yeah, and he
So
knows it
this
too.
guy's going to be playing his ass off. He's on a prove it deal this year. So I think,
Yeah.
and then Jaylen Brown too. Same thing. Jaylen Brown took a leap last season too, and if he takes another one and gets talked about in the top 30, top 25 players, then too, I think the Celtics are going to be really good.
Wow. You get the number one award for most PCP smoked before coming on and talking about Jayson Tatum and the Boston Celtics lighting. You sound like Bill Simmons. You sound like Bill Simmons when you say that Jayson Tatum is going to win the MVP and Ime Udoka is going to win the Coach of the Year and the Celtics are going to be like world beaters. Um, it's not out of the realm of possibility. I think Jayson Tatum winning MVP is a huge leap and is out of the realm of possibility. But I think the Celtics could be really good. I just don't think Tatum will be. Well, I don't know. It's interesting. I'd label that as a dark horse pick. Definitely would come out of nowhere because considering he's never been in MVP consideration ever.
No,
Um,
no.
but sometimes it's guys like that that win. Jokic last year, really.
Right. Yeah. No,
Um,
Jokic and just a couple of like Curry. Like nobody thought Curry was going to win with that
right,
first season
right
that
in
he had.
2015.
So sometimes it takes, like you said, just your team becoming very good and you just being the guy on that team.
Yeah, I think that's plausible.
I think there's a,
Um,
a higher chance of that happening than Luca winning it, just because I don't
go
expect
bet
the
it.
Mavericks to be good. I would because I don't
Go
expect the
for it.
Mavericks to be good. Yeah,
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's a take. Your logic makes sense. I just can't wrap my head around Jayson Tatum winning MVP. Really,
yeah.
I just don't think the team is that good, and I don't think Udoka is going to be this like shaman Phil Jackson guy who's going to turn it around and just like magic fix all their Celtics problems that they had last season. But I've been wrong before.
But I mean, we're
Um,
talking about a team that's made the Eastern Conference Finals. What is it? 3 of the last 4 years. Think about it.
um,
2017. No. Wait, hold up.
I
We're
don't think
going back
so.
even. We're going back even 5 years. Yeah. So they made it in 2017. That was the Tatum's rookie season, and Isaiah Thomas and all them.
No, that was. Did they make the Eastern Conference Finals that year? Tatum's
Yeah.
rookie season was when LeBron had the terrible team, when the Jordan Clarkson Cavs.
No,
That
okay,
was
because
2018.
they no, but they made it the year before. That was the Isaiah
Yeah, yeah,
Thomas
yeah, yeah, yeah.
team. Yeah,
Without Tatum though.
they
I mean,
lost
that
in.
team is totally different team.
Oh yeah, but still,
Yeah.
we're talking about a Celtic, just an organization that made it
Okay.
Eastern Conference Finals in 2017, 2018. Um, did they make it in 20? No, they didn't make it in 2019.
No, that was Bucks Raptors.
They made it in 2020. Yeah, you forget that.
The,
Yeah, they played against the Heat in the Eastern
the
Conference
Heat.
Finals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, that's what 3 of the last 5 years.
5. Okay. Yeah.
I don't know. I
I
think
don't. Does that have to do with Jayson Tatum's MVP? I don't know. I don't. Maybe.
I'm talking about the
Um.
Celtics as an organization, just
Right.
being. I mean, they've been good the last few years. I mean, last year was an off year, but because of all of the, like I said, the Kemba stuff, the Brad Stevens stuff, and all of that. And I think if the stars align and Ime Udoka is the guy that I think he is, and the Celtics become a top three team, because I think the top two. I mean, this is a whole other discussion. I think 1 and 2 is going to be the Nets and the Bucks, but I think that 3 seed is wide open, and I don't
Yeah.
see anybody on the Nets winning the MVP because I mean,
They're gonna eat
it's
each other out.
exactly they're gonna all of that, and then
Yeah, it was kind of interesting with the Nets. Like we saw this with the Warriors, having two top 5 guys on the team, arguably in the league, and neither of them are even in consideration because they're either going to be hurt all the time or not play
right.
or care. Load management, and then they're going to cannibalize each other when they do play. So
Right, and then if the 2 seeds the Bucks, I mean Giannis, like the voter fatigue has settled in. People aren't
yeah,
going to vote for
he'll
Giannis
be
then
he'll be
too.
in the run. He's a great bet if you could bet runner up probably.
Right, yeah.
Because there's no reason why he wouldn't repeat what he did last season and be a defensive monster and do all that stuff.
So that
Another
three,
guy,
oh, go ahead.
yeah, well, I was going to say another guy I wanted to talk about. I don't think he's going to win, but if Steph Curry was getting MVP consideration, maybe not deservedly so, but if he was getting MVP consideration as what, the eighth seed uh,
Right.
in the play-in, if Clay comes back healthy and the Warriors turn into the Warriors again with all the young guys, take Wiseman and Kuminga turn out pretty well, Draymond and Clay do their thing, and they trade for a guy, then Curry could be in MVP consideration next year as well.
I think
It's really just a matter of the Warriors just being a better team.
I think
He's such a media darling.
I think consideration, but like I said, I think you'd usually don't win another one unless it's back to back. To where I mean, Curry's what we're going on 5 years removed from his last MVP.
5 years. It'd be 6 years removed when they announced the award. Yeah.
Oh yeah, because he was the unanimous in 2016. Yeah, we're going on
Yeah.
6 years from
Yeah.
and that's never happened in history. And I don't know, unless the Warriors are the one seed and Curry plays out
Yeah.
of his mind, then I
Yeah.
think that's the only way that that could happen. But still, I think the voting is weird when it comes to stuff like that, to where I personally don't see Curry winning the award.
Right. Right.
Yeah, but going back to the kind of the hierarchy of the East. So if we have the Nets and the Bucks as the top two, that three seed is wide open.
Yeah.
And I think if the Hawks become that three seed, then Trey will be in heavy consideration for the MVP. But if Jayson Tatum is that three seed, I think that's where Tatum can kind of take that award and run with it.
See, I think both those teams would have to be better than 3 seed. I think they'd have to be at least a 2 seed. I think,
And it's possible still too. I mean, if the
yeah,
Bucks have
because how close was Atlanta to the 3 seed last year? How many wins away? Not that many.
yeah, no, yeah, you're right. Yeah.
And he wasn't even on the ballot really. No one
Well,
was really.
because let's say I mean, even the top two seeds are kind of not necessarily wide open, but I'd say, I mean, the Nets have all the weird stuff going on with
Yeah.
they don't even know if their third best player is going to be able to play home games. And with the Bucks, I mean, they could have. We've seen teams have, kind of championship hangover. Like it happened
Yeah.
to the Raptors. It's happened to
Yeah.
other teams. To where I mean, if like I said, a team like the Hawks or a team like the Celtics could really surprise us and end up in one of those top two seeds.
Yeah. If that happens, yeah, they'd have to be the top 2 seeds, I think, especially in the East.
Right.
I don't get many respect from the Western voters.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Um,
yeah, no, you guys. So is your final pick for MVP? Is it Luca then, or
I think so.
okay?
We've sort of talked. I think we talked me out of it, or you talked me out of it, to be honest. But it just makes the most sense, really, because he's. I think the media treats him like he's gonna get one eventually.
We know he's gonna get. I mean, if he
Yeah,
doesn't get one eventually, something bad had to have
he's got
happened.
great
Like,
numbers. The Mavericks are an okay team. I just, if his situation is pretty great, where he can go ape shit and
right.
really impress some people.
Because it's a matter of the media just kind of waiting for his team to catch up to him, because we
Right.
know he's the caliber of player to win it. And I mean, he's got the scoring, he's got the shooting, all
Yeah.
that stuff. But it's just a matter of his team being good. And I don't think the voters are going to look at Luka's historic numbers and be like, oh well, the Mavs are the 7 seed. We're gonna give it to him. I think
Yeah.
they're a few years away from that happening. Which I mean, you could say he even deserved it last year with the numbers that he had. But
Yeah. I think the Mavericks are an underrated team to make a big splashy trade too. I don't know. We've talked about their roster. They've been this team that has been just. I mean, they haven't made any big moves in the last couple of seasons other than Porzingis, which turned out to be a huge flop. I could see Cuban getting impatient, throwing picks at a guy like Bradley Beal, or trading for someone else to um, complement Doncic, whether that be a 2-way trade or a 3-way trade. Getting Nurkic from Portland and having Simmons go to Portland somehow.
right.
I don't know. Just thinking outside the box. I think the Mavericks are due for something. They can't look at this roster and think that, be confident and be like, yeah, we'll lose to the Clippers again. This is great.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Exactly.
there've been shifts in the front office, coaching changes. I have reason to believe that the roster is going to be shooken up next, but I'm
Yeah.
not sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. But my final thoughts for tonight, you guys heard it here first. Jayson Tatum is your 2022 NBA MVP.
And
Please,
Jason Kidd is your coach of the year, baby.
please,
Woo!
I want you guys to come back here in May, and we can look back and we can even make a reaction to this and
Yeah.
see how right or wrong we might have been at the end
We're
of.
not gonna be wrong though. So
Right. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. So, yeah, so if you guys enjoyed today's episode, please make sure to hit that thumbs up and subscribe and hit notifications because we come
please.
back, like I said, every week with content. We're going to start talking about college basketball once that starts picking up. The NBA season is right around the corner, and we're
Yeah.
going to be breaking down. We're going to watch every night and break down games that happen, talk about storylines going on, potential trades that already happened, all of that. It's going to be an interesting season and we'll be here to discuss it all. So, TTD Pod, follow us on Twitter, and Alex signing out.
Jonathan signing out with this message. Um, Latrell Sprewell once said that he couldn't feed his family on a $21 million deal. That's why he turned it down. If you don't subscribe to this podcast, both Latrell Sprewell and I won't be able to feed our families. So
Exactly. So, yeah, help John and Latrell Sprewell feed his family. We'll see you guys again next week.